everyone. Welcome back to the Be More podcast, where we inspire you to be a little bit more of every role within the Salesforce ecosystem and beyond. For today's episode, we are exploring what it takes to be more senior business analyst. And I'm joined today by Megan. So Megan, are you able to introduce yourself to our audience, please?
Yes, definitely. Well, first and foremost, I'm super excited to be here. So thank you, Tom. So hi, my name is Megan Tuano. I am currently a technical business analyst and product owner. Prior to that, I did consulting, business analyst, and actually worked my way from ed tech into tech. So I'm really excited to talk to everybody here today.
Perhaps during this conversation, we'll explore a little bit more about, I guess, the bridge, as I see it, between business analyst and product owner. I think I know a couple of people that have kind of gone in that direction, so that's interesting. So for today's session, we're going to focus on your role as a senior business analyst primarily. So if you were to kind of break that down for our audience, how would you describe that? Like, what's a typical day in the life of a senior BA?
Yeah, so it's funny you actually asked that because I do a lot of YouTubing on the side where I talk about careers. And one of the videos I'm actually recording right now is the day in the life of a business analyst. Perfect timing. So
Yeah.
I guess what a business analyst really does from my perspective, I came on from having that consulting experience in my prior role where we did get to work with a client on their user story requests, future ideas that they had to implement. And we would really take that and take time listening to the client, the why. The most important thing, which when it comes to it is like, why is somebody requesting something? So because of that role, I was able to find the senior technical business analyst role. And what I do more of today is I run daily stand-ups along with the Scrum Master that we have on the team. So that means that we're checking in every day on the tickets that we actually created. And seeing if the development team has questions. We also work on backlog. So while we're also working on current tickets, we're very much foreshadowing and meeting with the clients face to face, like what is coming up next? What tickets do we have to work on? And then throughout the rest of the day, it's just a lot of meeting with the development team. Being a senior BA, there's a lot of working across teams and being able to have really good communication. Yeah. So yeah, it's a whole bunch. I love it. I think it's really engaging. You get to meet with the client, you get to work with the development team. Now coming on as a senior senior technical business analyst, I'm also a manager, so I'm running teams. Yeah, so it's really cool. I think it's a good mix of what are you focusing on now and how are you building things, process mapping and stuff like that. So great balance of creativity, kind of being able to use like lucid charts and maps and stuff like that, but also working alongside people and making sure that your team flows really well. So that's kind of what my day looks like. It's a very short breakdown, but that's a day.
Okay, awesome. So it sounds like no 2 days are ever the same, right? I guess different days, different challenges.
Yeah, and I think since our team in particular is we work in the government sector, so that's my new role is working with the government. We're actually implementing Experience Cloud. The Service Cloud is more of like an agent call center. So you're thinking about the call center, and then you were also implementing a website. And that's from scratch. So we're working with designers, we're working with the client. So you really do a lot of different things, and you really need to know what's going on in the market. Like what do people want in a site building? So you get to like really tap into different interesting perspectives. So yeah, to answer your question, every day is definitely not the same. So that's what I think I love about it. It's just like, it's not repetitive, right? Like some of us just get bored sometimes, but with this role, it's like, okay, we're doing something new. I can do this. Let's do it.
Yeah, awesome. Well, it sounds like it certainly keeps you on your toes. We've touched on this already, but what type of other people do you interact with on a day-to-day basis? I think we touched on developers and the client. Are there some other people that kind of make up the typical project team, really?
Definitely. So just to kind of start with, we have a team of about 20 developers. So we start with that.
Wow.
We also, it's a big team. Schedule has a lot of people, but there's a lot of other teams. And coming from my role in consulting, we primarily just dealt with the client. So to be able to deal with the government and multiple teams, it was definitely very new. And I think that at first I was like, why are there so many teams? Like we used to do this all the time. But now it's like I can see how divvying up the kind of work makes it easier for me as a BA to focus on my role. So you do have the development team, which is about 20 some people, depending on your size of the
Mm.
project. I'm on the functional team, so I'm actually working with another BA. And then the scrum master who leads those daily stand-ups, make sure that our tickets are okay coming through. I also lead the QA team, so I'm kind of multi-role in a way.
Yeah.
Um, I have 3 people under me. They're all new to Salesforce, so they're kind of like the testers. And then the other and last team that we have is the change management team. People that are in that team are creating like user documentation, training guides.
Hmm.
They're actually facing the client and actually training them. So I think that's like 4 or 5 teams plus the delivery manager and the project manager that we have. So there's a lot of teams. There definitely is.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it sounds like a lot of different people there with perhaps different priorities at different times of the projects as
Mm-hmm.
well. Thinking about this, do you kind of feel like your role is the gel that holds all of these things together? Like, how do you think your role is pivotal, like amongst all of those other roles?
Definitely. And I was actually going to bring that up, but I think the difference between me and the other BA that's on the project, when you come in, specifically my title, senior technical business analyst, that
Hmm.
technical plays a huge part. Um, because as a BA, you're able to understand those technical requirements from the development team, but also the stakeholder and like, let's say, what the stakeholder or the client wants, you're able to kind of take that and be like, hey, this product, specifically Salesforce that we're working on, has these capabilities, these or not, they don't have it. And then I'm able to take the request from the client and transfer that over to um, the technical lead developer, who is the guy who's in charge of the 20 members of the development team. So I absolutely think that, when it comes to training, the training team will come over and ask the technical business analyst, hey, what knowledge articles, errors do you get, for
Mm.
example? So yeah, absolutely. I think that the BA plays a huge part in communication, managing teams, making sure the tickets are running as well.
Yeah.
Because sometimes, as you as you probably know, tickets get stuck on the board, and it's like, what's going on?
Yeah.
And we also just, from my own experience in consulting, I think that really benefits coming into this role because if we do have Jira tickets or whatever platform we're working on, and I don't see comments in the ticket, I think that's an ability for me to be like, hey, this is a working spot. And when we also hold retrospectives, so that means like as a
Yeah.
team we're kind of talking about what can be improved. And I think the BA has a core voice in the project that works with everybody, and I think you really
Hmm.
get to develop one-on-one relationships versus like our project manager, which really knows the people on the team but doesn't know them. So I think the
Yeah.
BA, yeah, like the BA just has a special place where you work with everybody and you're able to have that relationship. And I think relationship building is probably the most important thing as a BA.
Mm.
Knowing who you can go to, having an open window of communication, creating chats if there's not something available. So yeah, long answer short, they're definitely the gel. They are the gel.
Yeah. And I think kind of touching a little bit on what you said there, I think, and I've seen this myself, you can make or break a project
Mm.
by good or bad user stories, right? How important is that in terms of your role, in terms of helping to define and perhaps refine those as well?
Yeah, I think user stories are absolutely important. When I first started out, when you're working with a team of 20, right? Like you have to
Mm.
make sure that like the user stories really work for not just us, because I'm working with the developers. I need to make sure that we're fitting what they need. I'm working with the QA team. I need to make sure that the tickets are testable, number one.
Yeah.
I need to make sure that they're clear, that we're delivering as so and so user, this is what I need, then what, and then go from there.
Yeah.
I also need the tickets to just be able to be clean and consistent. That's the number one thing. Developers will take the ticket, they need to see consistency. As we're
Mhm.
working with building a website, the more visuals that you can also provide too is really key. So there's a lot of key components that come into constantly refining tickets. It's a constant game, I feel
Yeah.
like. But it involves collaboration, like we were talking
Hmm.
about earlier. You need to have tickets being responded to, and visual aids. The visual aids have been the most helpful, and you
Mm.
need to kind of take the initiative sometimes, working with a development team, like, hey, you're stuck. What can I help you with? And then
Yeah.
hold those retrospectives after and be like, did you all like the tickets? What can we improve on? I think
Mm.
it's, like I said, continuously refining things. User stories are great. They can take you far, but you got to make sure every team that you're on, people are going to be different and they work differently. And it's your job as the BA to figure that out and really like help your team. So yeah.
Yeah, awesome. And I think that's really important as well. The whole kind of approach there of continually learning, improving, developing, and perhaps adjusting as you work with different people, because
Mhm.
some people might like their tickets a certain way, somebody else might like it the opposite way, and there's sometimes a little bit of a challenge to find that middle ground. So I'm glad that came across there. And now thinking about this, and I'm pretty sure I know the answer to it, but I'm going to ask it anyway. In your role, do you play your role full time, or do you perhaps play other roles like an admin role or somebody that's actually building the system as well? How does that work?
That's a great question. So I find myself doing a little bit of everything. So when I'm talking to the stakeholder, because my title does have technical in it, I'm able to answer like, hey, does Salesforce do this? And then because of my experience, I can say, well, Salesforce does do this. But because now I am in a BA role, I need to be very cautious about what I say technically yes and no to. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, so that I have to be very careful, but I am very knowledgeable. I am the go-to person. I always make sure to pass it off to like the lead developer or like architect and stuff like that, because when you do, I'm not hands-on anymore. So when you are not hands-on, there's things that I may not know about certain, stuff. So I
Yeah.
do have to pass it on. Yeah. But outside of that, I would say, you know, just delegating.
Now thinking about this as perhaps somebody that's listening and maybe on their own journey to become a senior BA or kind of a more technical BA, to that person, what tips or advice would you give them if they're looking to start out?
Yeah. I think being a BA is great. I think that I'm very grateful that I came in as a consultant and I got the hands-on experience. I understand the complexity of requests and I can talk to that in meetings. I can understand how long things may take to create. I can understand certain blockers that they may have. If you are like a consultant or you do work with clients and you have familiarity with, just communication, I
Mm.
think you want to come through as being a BA. I think it's fun. I think just know that you're going to step away from the technical aspect of it. Just be okay with that.
Yeah.
Um,
Mhm.
but when you do move into these roles, I think that your communication really increases. I think there's a lot of solutioning that you need to do. I think that there's a lot of initiative that you need to do as well. I think that you become more confident in your voice. You need to,
Mm.
because you are that middle person at the end of the day. And I think that you need to find a way that when you create user stories or you talk to people that fits you. But again, you're continuously refining your approach and how you work with people. Personally, I think it's great. Just in my everyday, one thing I realized I wasn't even doing when I was a consultant, my husband would just be like, hey, how are you doing? Or what do you think about this? That's great. And I never returned the, well, what do you think? What do you think too?
Mm.
So one-sided. I was like, how could I be like that? Um, but when you ask questions all day, every day, I think that it's you grow personally too. So I think it's a fantastic role. So stepping stones, if you are in a project right now and you do want to become a BA, ask to shadow. That's the first step.
Mm.
Um, if you are a developer and you're just kind of reading user stories, question your BA. I have people do
Yeah.
that all the time, and I prefer that, to be honest.
Yeah.
Um, why is it like this? Why didn't you provide a picture? Can you provide it next time? Be vocal. I think it's a
Mm.
very fun role to step into. So yeah, I love my
I
position.
guess maybe reflecting on what you said there, why is a really powerful question, don't you think?
Yeah, should be your first.
Yeah.
Because even when you get like requests from this morning, I got a request to put something into Salesforce, and you have to be able to step back, and instead of as a developer, as a consultant, we're used to saying, okay, sure, sure. As a BA, you really need to step back and kind of be like a goalie, and let's strategize this. Like, why are you thinking this? How can it help your business? And then discuss if there's a different approach to be able to take from there. So why is probably the most important question. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Well, I think also sometimes it's perhaps even more challenging if you get a potential solution being given to you as well. Like, I don't know, I want a flow that does this, or I want a field that looks like this. Do you think that's more challenging when you have that kind of skew towards that solution, or do you see that?
Oh, I have clients that are very determined in what they want, and
Yeah.
they come with like process flows or process
Mm.
maps, and they have it all figured out in their head. And kudos, because that is a very engaged customer. But I think, from my consulting roles, it's important to be able to say, okay, why? And again, we go back to that why. Why
Yeah.
are you thinking that this is the best solution? Do you can let's talk about it. I think being a BA is being able to step people back from their day-to-day job and processes and say, like, is there a way that we could automate it this way? Is there a way that we could do it this way? For example, I have a client that wants to send out surveys 30 days. You'll see my reaction to this one, 30
Mm.
days after an agent has talked with somebody. And personally, from experience, implementing before and just like personal experience dealing with customer service, I'm not going to probably remember somebody that I talked to
No.
30 days after. Like, if it's a stellar interaction, then let me review them right then and there. And sometimes businesses are very used to the way that they do things, that as instead of as a consulting them, you're advising them. You need to step
Mm.
out of that way of saying yes, 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 but as a BA, you need to consult instead. Let's talk about perhaps different ways. And then the coolest thing I think about being as a BA is maybe taking that request and saying, like, hey, here's different ways, and process mapping it. I think tools like Canva really pre-create, should I say, beautiful designs to be able to guide users through things. People are very much visual learners, and we all have been since we've been a kid. And sometimes having that ability and that role as a VA, you can take that and really guide your user, tell a story. So yeah, that's been what's worked the best.
Anybody listening to this that's perhaps from Salesforce would love that as well, because Salesforce love to tell a story too, right? That's their whole marketing pitch, is a story. If you were to start again, is there anything you would do differently? Is there anything you would change?
No, and I love my journey, and I think that, and so I started off in ed tech. I helped people get into data science, and my major was actually like international affairs. So I was looking to like solve world problems, which obviously did not
Yeah.
happen. But I fell into ed tech, working with data science, and I would help people, number one, break into data science or advance their career. And the number one topic or course of choice was data visualization. So visualization, always like graphic designs and talking through things and taking data points and actually talking with stakeholders about it, starting off as a BA, then being a consultant, and then actually getting hands-on experience. I like the hands-on experience, but I loved the talking piece. Yeah, like I think at the end of the day, through me creating a YouTube channel and posting blogs and being more active on the creative side, I think somehow, some way, I was able to find what I truly loved and did well to be able to pivot into this role. So I love my journey, no matter how hard it was learning
Yeah.
automation. It made me a stronger BA, and I think that's why the technical position is, to answer your question even earlier, I feel like my position is one of the most important. Um, and it's really important, I think, when you have a BA, that you have somebody that is technical, or if they do get assigned to a project or a client, it's important to be able to learn that product, even to an extent of just, what does this do? What does this do? How does the product work, like Salesforce? So no, I wouldn't change it. I just wish I started content a little bit earlier.
Now thinking about this again, as somebody listening, and perhaps they're feeling inspired, and they're trying to understand if their current skill set works for this type of role. If there were skills or attributes you would use to describe them, like I don't know, curious, something like that, what kind of words do you think would come to mind?
Yeah, that's a great question. Definitely curious. You have to be
Yeah.
curious. You have to want to know why. The difference sometimes I see with people who have potential of being, as being a manager, I work with people one on one a lot. And, there's clearly people that are like architects and developers and the people that have potential for being a BA. I think curious is number one. Thinking of the business process really goes into that curiosity. Why are they doing something this way? Why do they want surveys to be sent out 30 days later?
Yeah.
It's right then and there. And I think how you deliver your question is very important too. So you have to be very I don't know the right word for it, but you have to be very conscious, aware of how you ask questions.
Mm.
Yeah, like you can't be like, why do you want to send 30 days? You can't bluntly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, have you thought about you have to articulate very well.
Mm.
um, and I think that I think not outspoken, but communicative. You'll work on it. It's not something that you're gonna have right away. I would say I'm a great communicator, but there's things that, like I just said, like I need to figure out how do I ask a question better on a business level. I
Yeah.
think GPT comes in perfect for that, or AI platforms.
Mm.
Um, yeah, so I think those are like maybe visuals, creative. You think about the business, just things like that. And I
Yeah.
think you'll figure out in the long run if you like technical versus more person based and like just the interactions like
Mm. Tact or diplomacy is important because taking your example of when you send out a survey 30 days after, you could just straight out say no, right? But that doesn't really help
that.
or get the conversation going in the right direction. And I think I love how you phrased it. Have you thought about this? What about this? I think those are really good kind of hook questions in, right, to get people
Yes.
thinking. Do you think actively listening is part of it as well?
Oh gosh, yes. How could I forget that one? Yeah, you gotta listen. You
Yeah.
gotta take, like, number one, you're gonna be good at taking notes, but um always ask to record if there's something that is a complex request, even not the complex ones. There's a way as a BA where you can take complex requests and make a story now and figure out now, but also hear about what they
Um,
want in the future. You're gonna want to, as a BA, always be able to be that person that they can refer back to and be like, hey, like Tom, we were talking about surveys. I wanted this now, but you brought up something that we could do in the future, and that's a great idea. You're also thinking about the now and the then, and that does come with active listening. You need
yeah.
to separate solutioning on the call to just listening to why they want something. What are they thinking? What's going through their head? How can you, as a BA, take them out of that business process and think about the future? And again, going back to the surveys, how is this going to help the agents in 30 days versus getting the
Mm.
direct feedback today? If I was
Yeah.
an agent, I would want to know that I did fantastic that day.
Now thinking about this as a chance to demyth or clarify something, when somebody thinks about a senior BA or a technical BA, do they have like a common misconception about what a type of person does or kind of doesn't do?
I was working and updating my LinkedIn, I said to myself, I'm doing, compared to my other BA, I'm more on the technical side. We're building, we're designing as well. When I do business process maps, where I'm being very specific about like case fields, for example,
Mm.
values that are under there. And that's something that unless the other BA is certified in a certain product like Salesforce or ServiceNow or whatever,
Yeah.
um, they're not going to know about. So that's really why I decided to add that technical piece to it, because when I am working on a ticket, I'm able to say, okay, you want a case reason field, but what values do you want in it? And I'm
Mm.
able to go above that additional step. So I definitely think to answer your question, sometimes there is confusion, but I think making the title more aware gives you the ability to fit both the BA role, but also a technical role, and show that even if I do get rolled onto an AWS project or a ServiceNow, like
Yeah.
whatever it may be, I have the ability, hopefully, that the manager, the hiring manager can see that I can learn that product. So I think that does make you more valuable at the end of the day.
I think that's perhaps another kind of attribute that we could use to describe somebody, right? Is adaptable. Do you
Yes.
think? Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, I love that one. This should be, yeah, right under communication.
Yeah. Because even
Definitely.
though, like, this is a podcast that's kind of skewed to Salesforce a little bit. I don't know if you can see in the background, but my Slack she's just there. There is a world outside of Salesforce, right?
Hmm.
So I think it's important to reflect on that, and some of these things that we're talking about would apply to any BA role, not just the Salesforce one. Do you think?
Yes, definitely. You have to be adaptable. You have to, because we're working right now with Salesforce and ServiceNow, and we have ServiceNow consultants on the call that are kind of talking about like, hey, does Salesforce do this?
Mm.
So it does take me when they want to be able to use reporting from the same systems. I need to figure out like what's going on with ServiceNow too. Why are they asking for this? Why? What is the need for this field in here? Is it needed for us to transfer this over? So again, you're asking the why, but you're also needing to understand a little bit more about their system. So definitely adaptable, especially in today's market and economy. The more things that you know and they're aware of, and you take I think initiative is another
Mm.
word too. Taking initiative really sets you apart from other people. If you work at a big consultancy, that's something that your manager can talk to you about, which gives you more opportunities in the future. So definitely adaptable and initiative.
What's the way for people to connect with you, and where can they find other content like this that you've put out to kind of help others too?
So I am also a creator. I'm very, very much active on LinkedIn. So I think that's the first spot. I have a YouTube channel, just called Megan Tuano. It talks about career, lifestyle, and tech in general. What that channel consists of is like day in the life, how to help you become a BA, a product owner. But I also show you what the lifestyle content is behind the scenes of what we go through in tech, because we are
Yeah.
people at the end of the day. So I make it fun if you like that type of content. And then lastly, I have my own site where I put out blogs. I love being able to have a balance of videos, but people also like being able to get into like nitty gritty of like how to create a
Mm.
user story and let's break it down for you. So you're also able to find me on my website, which is Salesforce with Megan.
I think that's great that you put content out there in different forms, because people
Yeah.
learn in different ways. Thanks again for your time today. And hopefully, when this goes out, we'll inspire some people to be more senior BAs. So thanks
Thank
again.
you, Tom. Thank you, everybody.